Welcome back to the Panic Room, everyone, and to another book review. Now, I have to apologize. I'm coming out of an illness that completely wrecked my voice, and it's not back to 100% yet, but I wanted to sit down and film this review while it was still very fresh in my mind for you guys, so please excuse my voice. So guys, today we are talking about Revelator by Daryl Gregory, and this book, I have been so excited to talk about it. This was, easily one of my favorite reads so far. So let's get into this, guys. As always, I will give a little bit of an overview, but then we're going to get into some spoilers. So our book opens with our main girl, Stella. The book is described as being like a cult horror, but I have to say, to me, it wasn't like in-your-face cult horror. It was definitely religious horror. So if you like that, you're going to love it. But what I really loved about this book was that it took that whole like cult religion vibe, and rather than like throwing that in your face, it used it to like weave the world for you. You know, it used that as like a reason that our main character acts the way she does and does what she does in the book, which I loved. To me, that is the perfect use of religion, because, you know, religion in and of itself is something that shapes a person, and the fact that the book used it in that way, I liked. I thought it was a really good use of that. So the book goes back and forth between Stella as a child and Stella as an adult in present day. And through her as a child, you get these glimpses into what her family's religion is. Now, I'm going to say here, another reason why I wouldn't call this a cult, so much so, is that to me it's more like an offshoot. It's an offshoot of Christianity in that, you know, a lot of times they go to church, you know, they read the Bible, they talk about Jesus, things like that. But they take it a step further. In Stella's family, it's very matriarchal, and I think it's about 2 generations or 3 generations prior to her, so like her great-great-grandmother, heard this voice coming out of the mountain. Then she met what they call in this particular religion, the God in the Mountain, or my personal favorite name for him, the Ghost Daddy. So like I said, the line is very matriarchal, but don't be fooled by that, because yes, all the Revelators are like mothers and daughters, they lead you to believe, but a lot of the rules and the day-to-day functioning are put forth by the men. You know, the men are the ones that record the revelations that the Revelator gets from this God, things like that. And they're the ones that really like give out the rules and the regulations, so to speak. Now, something you need to know about the Revelators is that all of the Revelators, to me, and I know this is going to be so funny, but to me, they're described as having these like red swirls on their skin. And I kept thinking of this, like their skin looks like a cream saver. But I mean, it's really cool sounding. However, and as of course it would be, it's very hard for them to deal with. You know, kids are cruel, and it talks about how, you know, like Stella's made fun of, things like that. And, you know, her family's known for being like weird, you know, in this, what they call a cove, which to me is described as almost like a holler. So you have this wonderful juxtaposition of this girl who is elevated to this really revered place in her religion as a Revelator, at the same time having to do things like wash clothes by hand and pick vegetables out of the garden and all of this like very country backwoods stuff, and she's trying to like, I guess, marry the two things together and, you know, still be a teenager or preteen. Now, something that is threaded through this book is how she doesn't like the fact that her grandmother, Maudie, who is the elder Revelator responsible for kind of like guiding her, you know, in a way, as to how to be a Revelator, she doesn't like the fact that she keeps a pig or a sow. And every so often, just the bare mention of this sow will come forth. Like, okay, well, Maudie had to go out and butcher the sow. But it is so not the focus, right? So why do I bring it up? Because it's a major focus later on. Yeah, it's so freaking like, later. Like, I couldn't believe it. I absolutely couldn't believe it. You go back and forth through the story. The flashbacks to Stella as a child gives you all of this, like, knowledge about how the church works and, you know, and how the men set the rules and all this. And you get some really awesome descriptions of the God in the Mountain. In the vlog, I called him an alien, and I still stand by that. He still has like some tentacle alien shit going on, but imagine if like a tentacle alien and Slender Man had a baby. Yeah, that's what I pictured, because it talks about how like he has this boulder head that doesn't have any facial features, and they commune by like putting their palms together, and like she gets I don't know, like scars because like the tentacle, yeah, real weird, right? And, you know, like I said, she gets all of these revelations that the men, particularly her uncle, write down in these books, okay? But they're real secretive about everything. And so you find out through the course of the story that Stella as a kid just absolutely falls in love with this. And she starts to get this big head thinking that she's all high and mighty now that she's the Revelator. And she starts to sneak out and have all these unsanctioned visits with the ghost daddy. Because she keeps hearing from the ghost daddy like that he's dying and all this. Which then you find out that kind of the whole basis of their religion is that they're going to be worshipful because one day the ghost daddy's going to come out of the mountain and he's going to show everyone that he's the ghost daddy. Another, you know, you've heard this. Almost all religions have something similar. So Stella gets pissed, leaves, but then the present day happens and her grandmother Maudie dies, which is what is the catalyst for bringing her back. And you find out that there is a new Revelator, Sunny, who's not to the age of accountability yet, which is a very religious phrase. And then the reader is like, I thought it was matriarchal. Where did this kid come from? Because in order for her to be the Revelator, she'd have to be Sunny's kid, right? And it's not said anything about Stella getting pregnant or anything. But you do have this whole like love connection thing happening between her and this kid Lincoln, who she calls Lunk. And so for me, I said in the vlog, for me the whole like romance, if you could even call it that, just seemed very shoehorned in. And so my first thought was, okay, maybe it's one of those situations where it's matrilineal and all they need is like some dude to donate his seed so that they can have another daughter to continue this. You've seen that. I know you've seen that in like books and shows and things. So that was my first thought. Because we also find out through this book that everyone blames her for Lunk's death, but we don't know why. Until we get the flashback that tells us why. You get a lot in this particular flashback. And so we open with like Stella on the farm and she has to go help her grandmother like birth this piglet, or what you think is going to be a piglet, except when it comes out, it's a fetus, it's a baby with like the same swirly skin that she has. And of course at this point I'm like, are we having a pig baby? Are we really doing this? Are we having a pig baby? Yes we are. We're having a pig baby. You find out that the whole like idea about the god in the mountain's gonna come out and walk, yeah, he's trying to make like the perfect human vessel that he can possess and then come out into the world. I'll give you a minute. Yeah. And then Lunk rolls in on all this, sees the pig baby fetus, flips out. The god the mountain shows up because, you know, Stella's been talking to him and all this. So I guess he just feels like he can roll in at any time and scares the living shit out of Lunk. And through the whole like Stella trying to get him out of the way and all this and commune with the ghost daddy, yeah, he dies. So that's where the kid came from, Sunny, the new Revelator. That's where she came from, and that was like the whole reason that Stella was like, I'm gone, peace out, I'm not doing this pig baby shit, and leaves. And so the whole time she's been gone, the grandmother Maudie has been raising Sunny and kind of letting this small town rumor happen that, you know, this was the love baby of Stella and Lunk, and when he died, you know, she had the baby in secret and then ran off and all this. And yeah, it's very like small town southern rumor mill kind of deal. So now we're at this point of pig babies and the ghost daddy wanting to like possess these people. So then my question was, why didn't he just possess the first Revelator lady? No, apparently it has to be like this perfect creation, and Stella was close. Like she was almost there, but wasn't quite perfect. And apparently there's a ton of these little shits that come out of these pigs, and sometimes they live, but most of the time they die, and the ones that live are the new Revelator and all. So Stella is like dead ass convinced that she does not need to let Sunny go in and commune with this ghost daddy because she thinks Sunny is now the perfect human vessel. Since she was almost perfect, that means Sunny must be perfect, right? So she rolls up in the cave where they like lay on the table and commune with this god, climbs up, and then you get this whole like alien-esque UFO kind of deal where she finds this field. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of like that scene from The Matrix, the first time you see like all the human pods that all the machines are using for energy. Yeah, that's kind of what it was like. because she sees them all, and these are all like her sisters, her other Revelators that weren't good enough, and she talks about how some of them have hooves and shit, and so she tells the Ghost Daddy, she's like, if you take Sunny, I'm gonna kill you. And, you know, he doesn't really like that very much, so yeah, essentially, she has to kill the Ghost Daddy, and in the meantime, as she's going, you know, to do this thing, she ends up killing, like, most of her family because they're all, like, dead-ass convinced that the Ghost Daddy's gonna save them all, but he doesn't because she ends up having to kill him to, like, save Sunny. And it's like you didn't see this coming, so I was kind of right. I was kind of right that he was an alien. So yeah, so all of this tension, all of this, like, build-up, you know, comes to this end where Stella has to be like this final boss battle thing with the Ghost Daddy, and it's awesome. And on top of everything else, you get this like inner struggle because, you know, she had this deep love for this Ghost Daddy, and now she's having to kill it, you know? So there's all of that. There's all that like internal struggle that she has too. So this delicious tension building that this book did so well really comes to a head in this spectacular fashion that to me, you really did not see coming. I really didn't. I thought this was going to be one of those like normal matrilineal, you know, cult things where, you know, they use people just to have babies and all of this. And, you know, that I thought that maybe Stella was going to be the one to like stop this whole line of, you know, using the women in this family. But no, it was so much more than that. It was such a good story. So guys, I hope I got through to you the absolute just wonderful storytelling that this book had. You know, it really hid a lot of elements in plain sight and did it so well. So if you like religious horror, if you like to see that internal struggle between like humanity and the divine, you're really gonna love this. Oh, it was so good. And then it had all these wonderful like southern flavors to it too that I think just added a little to it as well. So guys, thank you for hanging out for another book review. Again, I apologize for my voice, so double thanks for hanging out and listening to that. But please, if you like this, hit like, hit subscribe. It would really help me out. And until next time, bye for now.